Dan Woike, he covers the Lakers and the NBA for the LA Times, kind enough to join us. All right, give me the initial basketball reaction when you heard Patrick Beverley was joining the Lakers.
I think it was, oh, okay. Dan, I wasn't stunned, right? When Patrick Beverley got traded to Utah, I think the feeling around the league was that he would land somewhere else, and certainly he gives the Lakers a lot of what they need or want, right? Defensive tenacity. He's a really good spot-up shooter. I think if you told me today that Patrick Beverley was going to play 82 games, in a lot of ways, he's almost a perfect LeBron James teammate. Doesn't really need the ball on offense. Defends his butt off, and has been in his career a pretty underrated three-point shooter, right? Like 34% last year. That's the worst he's ever been in the NBA. Mm-hmm. So I think that's all really good news. I think the durability stuff is real, though. That's got to be a concern for a team that already has injury concerns. And then I think, Dan, secondarily, and I have a feeling you wonder this too, is okay, are there more shoes to drop?
Yeah. Okay, so do you think that this is a move that'll lead to another move, Dan?
I don't know. And I wish I had a clearer picture. I think that the Lakers have been trying to trade Russell Westbrook. That's not a surprise. They were certainly interested in Kyrie Irving, and I think, and I wrote this, that when that kind of situation in Brooklyn got settled earlier this week, it kind of provided a clarity for the Lakers as to okay, we can go about now doing our business. We don't have to wait on this situation to play out anymore. We can kind of put our foot in the ground and pivot and go about making our team better, because it needed to get better, right? And while Talen Horton-Tucker's a young player, he wasn't going to make the Lakers that much better this year. I really don't believe that his skills fit with what they have already. So, this is a step in that direction. But, Russell Westbrook's still really hard to trade, Dan. It's a lot of money. There's not a lot of interest around the league. I spoke to a general manager here in the last 24 hours, and I kind of mentioned Russell Westbrook and trading him, and that general manager just said, good luck. And I don't think that opinion has changed much since the trade deadline last year. And I'll be curious. I am very curious to see if the Lakers can how aggressive they will be in terms of adding draft capital, 2 first-round picks perhaps, to making a Russell Westbrook move to kind of try to bolster the roster again here for, this isn't LeBron's last chance, I don't think, but, we're in that territory.
All right, so you bring in Patrick Beverley, the role that he played, how does that impact Russell Westbrook?
Yeah, it's going to make for a fun employee orientation day, I think, Dan. I think, right? Like the icebreaker games, are going to be really, really awkward around that table. If they're both there, in some ways it should be good news for Russell Westbrook. Darvin Ham has talked a lot about, we want Russell to kind of be in the corner and hit threes and to be a defender, and we're going to challenge him to be a defender. And that's not really who Russell Westbrook has ever been in the NBA. It is who Patrick Beverley has been. And there is maybe a logic to, this opens up, Russ is not going to be more miscast. He'll be able to do kind of the things he's more comfortable with. But, we saw how that played out last year, right? And that was a struggle. So I don't know. I don't think this makes Russell Westbrook a more seamless fit with the Lakers. But I do think that generally speaking, right, Patrick Beverley is a guy that 29 teams generally, mostly hate. And when he's on your team, you love the stuff that he does, because he does the type of things that, make a basketball team more compelling and a toughness and a care factor that are really easy to get behind. And, this is a guy who cares about winning, and he plays with a ton of intensity and heart. And I don't think that's ever a bad thing.
Frank Vogel was supposed to be labeled a defensive-minded head coach. You bring in Darvin Ham, who's going to be asking his team to do the same, play defense. Why is Darvin Ham an upgrade, or considered an upgrade, or a move that was necessitated by how they played over Frank Vogel?
Yeah, so I think, it's just, I think it's different, right, Dan? And I think sometimes different is the upgrade. Frank Vogel, through a year and a half with the Lakers, really through the first 2 seasons, architected the best defense in the NBA. won the title in his first year. That was a defensive-minded team. Was in a great position defensively in year two, kind of coming off that bubble championship before injuries kind of took their toll. And then last year was, just a disaster on a ton of fronts. And Frank Vogel had a hand in that. The front office had a hand in that. The players had a hand in that. It really was sort of you could kind of, blindfold yourself, throw a dart, and you hit somebody with some blame. I think where Darvin Ham is different, right, is that Darvin Ham is the Lakers have used the word presence. People have used the word presence. What I think that means is he's maybe a little more confrontational. Definitely a different approach to dealing with people, less dispassionate. That's not to say Frank Vogel doesn't care. He absolutely cares, and he's a massive competitor and a really good basketball coach. I just think that that sort of approach, the kind of he got kind of labeled like Ted Lasso-y around the team. A good dad joke here or there and stuff like that. I think maybe somebody who'd grab you by your jersey and hit you with an F-bomb now or then, I think is maybe that's the change. And now we'll see if that's better or worse. If that fixes the problem. I still haven't talked to anybody who thinks that the Lakers' only problem was coaching. It's not a one-step fix, but it is different, and I think it'll hit some guys differently.
I'll leave you with this. This is our poll question today.
I'm excited.
Which trio plays more games this upcoming season? AD, LeBron, and Russ. KD, Kyrie, Ben Simmons.
Oh, my God. I think the latter. I think Brooklyn, just because I still think that there is a chance the Lakers will be able to put together a Russell Westbrook trade, depending on their willingness. It seems like Brooklyn is moving forwards in that path. But
and you think Kyrie stays with Brooklyn?
It seems like it, Dan. It really does right now. It seems like it. We'll see. Brooklyn wasn't able to extract a ton of value from around the league, kind of in the brief sort of period when he was trade eligible. We'll see if that changes closer to the trade deadline. We'll see. I think there's certainly a possibility. But basketball-wise, I kind of think that Ben Simmons and Kyrie Irving are actually a pretty good fit. And if everybody's bought in and healthy, it could work. There's just a lot of chaos there, certainly. But I think they make sense, certainly more sense than the Lakers trio. And so that, to me, they'll get my vote.
Dan, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
All right, thanks for having me. Talk to you soon.
Dan Woike. He covers the Lakers NBA for the LA Times.